Hey, good morning everybody. My name is Bud Gardner. I'm with Specialty Truck Bodies. And we're going to just cover a few basic maintenance issues. And if you have issues, here's my number. Call me directly. 919-777-3986. Now we're going to go through the truck, not in detail, but we're going to go through it and show you some things that you need to know and need to understand. So right here, you see this little silver handle? You have got to pull that, because this is what actuates the cab. And then right here, there's another latch. You're gonna pull that and tilt the cab forward. So easy a baby could do it. You can get to everything that you need right here. Everything that you need. This power plant is a 6.6 liter Chevy engine. For those of you that don't understand liters like me, it's a 402. Each spark plug has its own coil. There is no distributor cap, no rotary bug, no nothing. Tells you what oil to use right here. If you decide to go synthetic, give it 10,000 miles so the engine can break in with the existing oil in it. Change your oil every 7,500 miles. Power steering pump, fluid reservoir, right here. Put the fluid in, fill it. There's your check stick right there. Tells you exactly where it's at on power steering fluid. It's just like your oil fill. Cover the dots. We'll go around to the other side now. Let's look at the transmission fill and fluid check. Right here's your oil dipstick. This is where you check. This is where you check it, and you need to check that before that vehicle rolls out every single day. It needs to be part of your preventive maintenance on a daily basis. Here is your transmission fluid and dipstick. Just pop it up, pull it out, you can check it. Now here's the key thing a lot of people don't know. You check your oil when the engine's cool and all the oil is drained back into the pan. You start the engine up and let it run at least 2 minutes before you check your transmission fluid. You can get a false reading on the transmission fluid if it's not warmed up. Because what happens is right under here, this is the bell housing, right under here is a torque converter on the transmission. It's got capillaries in it, and it needs to be full of fluid before you check it. Then you get an accurate reading. If you check it right now, it'll show overfull while it's cold. You want the tranny to be warm when you do it. And oh, by the way, this transmission is a 6L90 transmission. Those of you that got some gray on your head or some gray on your back, this is equivalent of the Turbo-Hydromatic 400 transmission. It's a beast. It's bulletproof, and if you take care of it, it'll last you a long time. Well, that is pretty much that for the engine. This is your reservoir for your coolant and antifreeze. Buy the pre-mixed. Don't try to mix it yourself, you'll mess it up. Just buy the pre-mixed, okay? All right, right in here. Here's the reservoir for your windshield washer fluid. Inside the dash, it's not at the engine, it's right here. This is where you put your windshield washer fluid in. It's a good thing. There's no chance of it freezing if you mix it wrong or whatever. Again, get the pre-mixed. It just makes more sense. It really does. All right, we're gonna put the cab back down. I'm gonna show you how to do that. And then we'll go through some of the functions and some of the other maintenance pieces that we need to on the truck itself. Here's the way you bring the cab back down. You got this handle right here, and you got a trip lever right here. Right here on that stud. Push it in, pull back, pull it down. Now one thing I want to remind you about, you remember at the start of this, it said pull this lever. If you lift this without pulling this lever, you're gonna bend that arm. Don't do that, it's a bad thing. But when you're done, you shut it down, you lock it in right here. Now the good thing about this truck is if your cab is not locked down, you get a warning light on your dash, which is a bad thing. You don't want that. All right, let's fire it up and go through some of the functions of the bed and the tarp and all that. Hear that? That's American-made ponies right there. If I don't fire you up, your wood's wet. I don't know what to tell you. All right. So we're gonna run the bed a little bit. I ain't gonna take it all the way up, but just show you how it works generally. This is complicated, so pay attention. Up button, down button. Up button. It's really important when you're running the bed or you're running the tarp, you have the engine running. And you say, Bud, why is that? The battery that's in these have 795 cold cranking amps. So what it does is it pushes all those amps to whatever's running when the engine's not running. So you want the engine to be running when you work the bed or you work the tarp, because the alternator only pushes the voltage you need to operate it, which is very important. And the reason I say that is because they come with a breaker, and I'll show you where that breaker's at here in just a little bit. If the battery is pushing the bed or the tarp alone, it will throw the breaker because it's getting more juice than what it needs. More electricity, let's say. Another important safety feature I want you to understand, if you're under this truck, if you're under this bed and you're working on it, you want to put the safety stop up. You run it up, you lock it in, and then you're good to go ahead and work on it and grease it. So I'm gonna run it up a little bit higher and show you where the grease certs are. The hydraulic cylinder is self-lubricated through the hydraulic fluid, which is Dextron 30. It has two settings on it. It has a cold line and it has a hot line, and they are marked cold and hot. You don't want it underfill, you don't want it overfill. Right here are two grease certs. Every time you change the oil, grease those. Both the tarp and the hydraulic system have what's called a dead man switch, meaning if you over torque it up or over torque it down, it will throw the breaker. That is intended. That way you don't burn the motor out on the tarp or the hydraulic pump. So when it stops, get off the button on the hoist, on the bed. When it stops on the tarp, get off the button or it will throw the breaker. So we're gonna bring her back down now. And if you listen, you can hear the difference in tone. You get off the button when you're taking it up or you're taking it down when it stops. Now you notice that I haven't shut the truck off. That's because I want the alternator to supply the voltage through the battery to the mechanism. Always have it running. All right. Here's your tarp switch, right here. If you throw the breaker's right there, it's a reset. Just a simple push reset. So we'll run the tarp now. Important to note, don't slam the tarp. When you get close, take it down slow. You don't want to bang up your bed and you don't want to break the bushings that are on there, because you will. Training for your crew is of the utmost importance. This is your fuse box right here. It's pretty easy to see where they're blown because it'll show you on the top of them if they're blown. Like I said, you got my number. If you got an issue, call me. All right, round to the other side. So right here is your battery box. Pretty easy to get into. This is the breaker for the bed. If you throw the breaker, there will be an orange blade that will pop out of the bottom of this. All you do is grab a hold of it, push it right back up in the slot, and your bed is reset. So that, friends, is your basic maintenance and function of the junk removal specialty truck bodies truck. Like I said, if you got any questions whatsoever, you have my number. call me. You and I can't figure it out together, then we'll get a hold of the manufacturer and we'll light them up as needed. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it.